All right, Ben. Second Floor Sports. We're taping this a day late on Tuesday, September 22nd. I don't know what happened to me.
Matias got hit by a bus yesterday. Actually, that's kind of he put up the mug like he was like kind of sick. No, he got hit by a bus. Actually, is what happened. That's the official story. That's what we're rolling with, at least.
To my knowledge, I didn't get hit by a bus. I felt like I got hit by a bus. I was fine on Saturday night. I was working down in Jersey Shore for the weekend. And Saturday I was okay. And it was cold. I called 2 games on Saturday, but I had a sweatshirt. I was in shorts. It was fine. It was like 65 degrees. And then I woke up Sunday morning and my throat was killing me and I couldn't talk. And then I had to talk for like 2.5 hours.
Yep.
But
it was pretty funny, honestly, when you FaceTime me. You texted me and you were like, "Oh, I'm feeling too hot. Like, I can't tell if I sound awful or like what the deal is." Like, let me FaceTime you and we'll see what you think. Kid sounded like trash. Like, actually, it was not good.
Well, I don't think I sound too great now, but at least
a lot better than you did yesterday.
Yeah, yesterday I was very congested.
Just forgive us for the delay. We just want to make sure we're putting out the best content to you guys.
Yeah, of course. Second Floor Sports on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, not Apple Podcasts yet. We're still waiting for the approval.
Yeah, actually,
Spotify Podcasts.
I thought we were on Apple Podcasts through Anchor.
No, not yet. We're on Anchor. We're on now Google Podcasts. Just got approved for that, and we're on Spotify. So wherever you get that, and we will keep you posted when we get on Apple Podcasts. Still waiting for the confirmation. We got a lot to talk about, Ben. Let's start off with.
Oh my God!
Your disappointing end to your fantasy
there's just
matchup.
Nothing. Is that really what we're starting with?
Yeah, I just wanted to rub it in.
Well, if we want to talk about a fantasy matchup to rub in, let's talk about where I actually beat you in fantasy this week. So
yeah, okay. So Ben and I are in 2 leagues together. One of them, neither of us.
I really can't believe you went there. Like that's such a dangerous road to go down when I literally beat you in one of our leagues this week.
I don't know, but the league that really matters, the main
league I was up like 24 or something like that. I had the Saints defense going. The kid we were playing, friend of the podcast, Jake Glennon, was going with.
You got a lot of friends of the podcast.
We do. We're a big podcast.
It's like what we called Asman, friend of the podcast. He's like, I've never been on the podcast. Can I be a friend? I was like,
yeah,
okay, sure.
No one's ever been on the podcast other than Asman, Frank Rossi, and Rob Parker. That's a hell of a trio, honestly.
Yeah, honestly, really setting us up. Setting ourselves up for.
I needed to avoid on Monday Night Football. I needed to avoid a big Darren Waller game. And for a while, I got into the second half still leading. And so I was cautious. I don't even know. I was optimistic. I was like very, very nervous, but I was still winning. And then I went down a point, but then the Saints fumble recovery put me back up a point. Mm-hmm. And then Darren Waller caught another like 5 or 6 passes and I lost.
Well, I think the one that killed you was his touchdown, where just he went completely uncovered on 4th and 1.
Well, that's actually not what killed me. I was still winning after that. I knew I think any touchdown from Waller and I was in the danger zone. But
yeah,
so be it. So be it. I beat you in our dynasty league, which is kind of fun.
Speaking of danger zone, fuck week 2. Honestly, I mean, there's no other way around it. Like, the game that I did on Sunday, so I didn't get to catch the 1:00 games. And I turned my phone on and like I checked it after my game had ended. And I just saw like Christian McCaffrey carded off, Joey Bosa carded off, Saquon tore his ACL. Like,
look, man, the past 5 years as a Giants fan have been dark, depressing, bad. I can't remember a worse day as a Giants fan than this past Sunday, in all honesty. I was talking to my dad about this. I was talking with friends of the pod, Strat and John, about this, 2 of my Giants fan friends. I mean, like, the Giants have had some really bad moments in the last few years. Mm-hmm. Like, this past Sunday really might have been, like, a franchise-altering day.
Yeah.
An ACL injury is not the death sentence for your career that it used to be. No. Absolutely not. But it's not good by any stretch of the scenario. It is not good. Look, if anyone's going to come back stronger from an ACL injury, it's going to be Saquon Barkley. I mean, the guy is a physical freak. I was watching the game with Stratton, and we were joking, and he like limped off the field literally like 3 or 4 snaps before
Mm-hmm.
And we all like hearts in our chest, like, oh my God, Saquon's hurt. Kind of like stood on the sideline, got his Gatorade, and literally almost at the same time, I think John and I were both like, he's just got to regenerate. He's a cyborg. That's the word.
He's just gotta plug himself back in.
It's not even a plug. He just needs to like just catch his breath a little bit and like let the tissue rebuild.
Do you think he have like solar panels that he just like gets all his energy
I don't think it's
or?
solar panels. I think he's just like he's a cyborg. I don't think he's fully human.
Okay.
Oh, we just got a trade. Oh, that's John's hometown league. Never mind. I thought we just got a trade alert in our main fantasy league.
Well, I because you just mentioned trade, I want to talk about a league that only I'm in. There's another league I'm in.
He says he's going to start talking about a league that only.
No. I'm not. That's what I'm saying. I'm not going to talk about it too much. A friend of mine drafted Patrick Mahomes, 10th overall. Bold move to start with.
Wow.
And then just traded him this morning for Cam Newton. I feel like I have to share it.
Just a league of like seventh graders. What's the deal here?
Yeah, well, that's the league that let me get that. Well, you mentioned seventh graders, but when I posted my team that I drafted in our league on Twitter, our good friend Bo Benson, friend of the show, who we work with.
We can't call Bo Benson a friend of the show. He's not a friend of the pod.
Okay. He can
great guy, but like, is he even a friend of ours?
He's a friend of mine.
Is he?
We interact a lot on Twitter. Well, anyway, we worked with him
for friendship.
Yeah, we worked with him at Fox Sports Radio, and he asked if I had drafted with seventh graders. But back to the
how about we start talking about anything on our rundown?
I mean,
man. This is what happens when we do a show on Mondays. We get all over the place.
You talk about I'm riding high on my Sudafed right now, so you talk about
the show's all over the place.
You talk about Saquon and what a torn ACL means for a player in 2020, and it's not a death sentence anymore. But if you're going to compare it with a defensive end in Nick Bosa tore his ACL, and then Saquon who did, you'd rather have neither of your players tear it, but you'd rather it be a D end. I mean, you need more. You need more of a jump. You need more of a cut. You need your knees more, I would think, as a running back.
Yeah, so why are you saying it's worse for Bosa?
No, I'm not saying it's worse for Bosa. I'm saying you'd rather.
Wait. Like, how on earth are you saying it's worse for a DN than a running back?
I'm saying you'd rather have, if you had to choose someone to get a torn ACL, you'd rather it be a DN than a running back.
Yeah,
because it might not be, it's not going to be career-ending probably for Saquon, but it could affect for the rest of his career, his agility and his ability to make those quick cuts in the backfield. And
look, I'm just looking at Adrian Peterson's ACL tear, where he came back less than a year later and led the NFL in rushing that first year back. I mean, that is like the gold standard. But I mean, we're talking about truly a once in a generation physical specimen in Saquon Barkley. Like, I would not bet against him in the slightest. That said, I don't know if I would extend him at all.
Yeah. I would just be careful about the AP thing, because when it happened, everyone was like, what the hell just happened? And even now, 5-6 years ago, we're like, what the hell happened? Like, that shouldn't have been a thing. And it's AP. You want to talk about like physical specimens? Adrian Peterson.
I mean, Saquon is at that level, I'd say. But I mean, look, I'm just trying to like give myself like a little bit of hope. I drafted Saquon second overall in our main league too, so just like for the rest of the first half after Saquon tore his ACL, I'm sitting there and just like different waves of just deep depression. It's like, God, like the Giants are so screwed, and I'm like, my fantasy team is so screwed. It's just, oh God, it's just bad, man. It's just not. It's bad.
Unfortunately, it didn't end with Saquon. I mean, the injuries that we saw in week 2 are going to have a ripple throughout the whole season. Christian McCaffrey is going to miss 4 to 6 weeks.
And with a high ankle sprain, like even when he's back, it's going to take him some time to get reacclimated.
Yeah. Nick Bosa done for the season with the torn ACL.
Courtland Sutton done for the season. Drew Lock, like you said. For a team in the Broncos that was kind of picked as like a popular, not even like a sleeper to win the division, but just like a team that was bad last year and was like kind of expected to be a little bit better. Mm-hmm. I mean, right back to the basement for them. Yeah. So that offense, I'm like so used to saying like the Broncos offense looks scary as if Courtland Sutton didn't just tear his ACL. And Jerry Jeudy looks like an absolute monster.
I
mean, it was Drew Lock, it was an AC joint, I believe. Yeah. It was an AC joint in his throwing shoulder though. So it's like,
That's not good.
When is he able to throw again is one question, but when is he able to like throw with
comfortably
enough comfortably throw and to make like the type of throws that are required of you as an NFL quarterback? I mean, that's gonna be a minute for them.
And you got to think too with Drew Lock. I mean, look, he's young and he's your future as of right now at quarterback. Elway loves him. If you don't have your top receiver in Cortland Sutton there, you're already missing Von Miller for the season, and Bradley Chubb isn't at his full 100% because they're working him back. How much do you really try to win? I mean, they're signing Blake Bortles, so clearly they don't. I saw that. They don't really want to win right now. If
at this point, I mean, there's no point, especially with Cortland Sutton now. There's no point in rushing Drew Lock back. Like, let him take as much time as he needs to get healthy. Mm-hmm. I'm like, I don't want to say you just punt on the season, but like, you almost want to punt on the season.
Going through the list. Going through the list of just more people that got injured. Garoppolo, high ankle sprain. I think they said 4 weeks. Tyrod Taylor
expected to play through it.
Yeah,
I've been seeing. I mean, that scares me a little bit if I'm a Niners fan.
Yeah.
Honestly, that's the type of thing you really don't want to play around with. I guess if you're the Niners, you're thinking like, the NFC West is back to being ultra competitive. You really can't afford to like kind of slow play this one. You've got to get him out there. Do you remember if it's his left or his right ankle?
I don't remember.
Would you rather be your plant ankle or like your lead ankle?
I'd rather it be your lead.
Yeah, you don't want to be like driving off a bad ankle, but
that's a recipe for disaster there. You're putting your whole weight on it as you're like, pushing forward. Especially for a quarterback that can't run like Jimmy Garoppolo. I mean, he's not going to kill you in the pocket. You saw that last year. It's a run-first team.
Absolutely.
Speaking of being a run-first team, Raheem Mostert got hurt. Tevin Coleman got hurt.
80-yard touchdown for Mostert gets hurt.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's rough.
All right.
Tevin Coleman got hurt.
A little like actual football here, though. I mean, we run over an injury list. This is not the injury podcast, though. This is the second floor sport.
This is. We should bring in one of our official doctors of the show.
Friend of the pod.
A lot of friends of the pod. Before we move on, just a couple of real quick injuries in the backfield for the Ravens. Tavon Young, like, could be huge. I mean, he missed all of last season. Anthony Barr got hurt for the Vikings. They suck. I can't believe I picked them to win the NFC North. Terrible. Solomon Thomas got hurt for the 49ers too.
Also ACL.
I think it's 9 of 11 starters last season for the Niners in their Super Bowl are either hurt or no longer on the team, which is like,
that's pretty nuts.
Yikes.
All right. I'm done talking injuries. Let's talk a little actual football. Sunday night, man, Seahawks-Pats, that was a much better game than I was expecting. At least in terms of like competitiveness, but just in terms of like quality of football. I kind of expected it to be like kind of ugly, like defensive, like slugfest, honestly. And it was a shootout.
The Pats defense got burned all game long. I don't know if you put
Stephon Gilmore gave up his highest passer rating against DK Metcalf.
Yeah.
I think it's the highest passer rating he's allowed since like week 10 of last season, I think, which is
probably he gave up 1 touchdown, I think, all last season.
He gave up because there was the one deep shot to John Brown where he got toasted, which was really funny to watch. I think he gave up 2 or 3 last year, but he was defensive player of the year. Like however many touchdowns he gave up is a moot point. He was a monster last year.
I agree with you. I thought, it could be. I thought it would be a competitive first half, and then the Seahawks would just run away with it, and that's what it was looking like for a while. It was Seahawks -4. I thought easily they would cover. But I mean, Cam Newton throws that interception on a bad pass, and he just responds really well after that. I mean, I was really impressed because we had talked last week about, Cam ran it a lot. 15 of his runs, 14 of them ended on a hit. How sustainable is this offense? I said
that's the Cam Newton we've always seen. Last week we were talking about how Kyler Murray, Lamar Jackson don't get hit.
Yeah.
Cam Newton is going to get hit. He's not a make you miss type of guy anymore. He used to be, which was kind of the terrifying thing about a young Cam. Like MVP Cam Newton didn't get hit.
Yeah. We talked about how it was at this point in his career with the injury history he has, it was probably unsustainable for him to take that many hits. If he took it against the Dolphins, you don't want to do it against the Seahawks and someone like
the
Jamal
thing you got to remember though, and I think
it did well.
It's tough for us to properly understand like how the impact that not just the physical impact but the mental impact that taking all these hits kind of accumulates on a quarterback and their mind state, he's been basically has not played a snap in 2 years.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how much time
he played a little bit at the beginning of last season.
It's like 2 games.
Yeah.
Essentially has not played in 2 years.
Yeah.
Has had the better part of 2 years off and is now back. I wonder if he's kind of like he's refreshed and he's more just prepared to take those type of hits. Because Cam Newton, his last full year as a starter, he was playing hurt the entire season. His foot, his throwing shoulder, he was not anywhere close to 100%. I don't think he's anywhere close to like 75%. And so that leaves such a bad taste in our mouths as just football fans. Is like, oh, Cam Newton's washed. He doesn't have it anymore. Playing at less than 100% in the NFL is a very tough ask of anyone, especially at the quarterback position, especially for a guy whose game is predicated on like physicality and his athletic gifts.
Yeah.
And then you take Cam Newton 2 years out of the league, basically, and you put him in a situation in New England, and Belichick is so good at putting players in a position to succeed and maximizing their strengths. Hindsight's 2020. It's season's still young. Cam Newton looks like he might be the steal of the offseason. I mean, is it too much to say he's playing like a top 7 quarterback in the league right now? Through 2 weeks given, but
I mean, he is. I mean, and the big thing for me was we knew what he could do on the ground, right? He had 2 touchdowns, about 50 yards, a hair under it. But I mean, especially that long ball to Julian Edelman, like that was on the money. He looked really sharp in the pocket, and that was always, since he hurt that shoulder the first time, and you talked about how he played at 75%. We need to keep reminding ourselves. We need to keep reminding ourselves that the Panthers absolutely blew it with everything they had on that team. They mismanaged him. And they mismanaged their entire roster.
Mismanaged him, but it's like when you've got a guy like Cam Newton, part of what he does well is run the ball physically as a quarterback, and it's like, you can say you mismanaged him because he got hurt, and like, again, hindsight's 2020. But it's like, are you really not going to run the ball with Cam Newton if you've got that weapon? Football is a violent game. Like,
all I'm saying is watch the SB Nation collapse.
I love collapse. I haven't seen the Cam Newton one.
I love those because, I always go back. I like watching, especially, obviously I love watching the ones that like I know what happened and I remember it. But I like watching, especially the ones. I like watching the ones where I remember everything because you're like, oh, I forgot
like
that happened.
The Knicks one, right? That was like, I was gonna say it's painful. It wasn't painful. It was nothing I didn't know, but it was just interesting to like,
put it all on a map.
Look at why the Knicks have sucked my entire life.
Well,
I just gotta call your attention to the point Nolan is bringing up here. If Cam's top 7 quarterback, what does that make Ryan Tannehill?
Not top 2. But Tannehill is playing really well. But I would like to again remind my good friend Nolan that you guys won by 3 against the Jaguars. Again, don't know what you want to brag about there.
To be fair, Derrick Henry's been underperforming this season.
Yeah, that's not my problem though. I mean, it is because I have him in fantasy. But Cam looked really nice in the pocket. That one missed catch by Julian Edelman ended up being the difference for the Patriots.
We're talking about it so objectively. Before we get into that last play, 400 yards and a touchdown for Cam Newton on 44 attempts, 68% completion. That's MVP level Cam Newton. I don't think anyone was expecting that to be the case, especially for a New England team that figured to be kind of run heavy.
Yeah, well, it could still be run heavy. The problem is that Sony Michel can't, grab more than 2 yards to carry. Cam Newton is the run game for the Patriots, and we figured the first couple of weeks.
As he should be, though. That's kind of what I was saying about him in Carolina. Like, are you not going to run the ball when you've got Cam Newton? I mean, like,
why would you have Cam Newton and not run it?
Exactly.
The main emphasis I thought was going to be kind of a more conservative kind of passing game from Cam Newton, but they responded. They were down 14 in the 4th, I think, at one point. They came back.
That's game script. I mean, they had to move the ball. And it's not like Cam Newton can't throw. I mean, I think I'm fingers crossed, knock on wood, pray to whoever you want that Cam Newton stays fully healthy this season. Yeah. I think we're all getting a treat and seeing a healthy Cam again. And he's a freak. Like, he's one of the most unique NFL players we've ever seen.
Mm-hmm. And it's, again, like, how the hell did any other team let Cam Newton go to the Patriots? Because as soon as that signing happened, you were like, no, I know. And you're like, okay, we don't know what Cam's going to look like. But the same way you talk about, if there's one person that could recover from an injury like Saquon, right? If there's one team that could revive Cam Newton's career, right? And make him look like
MVP. It's not like
again.
the Pats made some like ridiculous gamble on him. It was a very reasonable signing. The Pats had no answer at quarterback. It was like, all right, why not take a chance on Cam Newton for no money? Like,
yeah,
it looks like a very smart signing. I mean, if Cam gets hurt by week 8 again, I absolutely hope he does not. But it's like that is part of the risk with signing Cam Newton.
I mean, yeah, he signed for less money than Nate Peter.
He should have gotten more, and there is definitely some blame to be passed around to other NFL teams for not even taking a chance on him as like a backup.
Yeah.
Let's talk about this last play of the game. Of course, Pats Seahawks goes down to the last play of the game at the 1 yard line, bringing back all types of memories.
Well, before we get to that, there was a 3rd and 1 that the Seahawks had, and if they had just run the ball and gotten the first down, they iced the game right there. And what does Pete Carroll decide to do? He decides to go deep.
I mean, to be fair, Russ, 4 of 4 passing the ball more than 20 yards down the field, and all 4 of them were touchdowns.
Just run.
They had the shot, though. They had it. They literally had it.
Run the ball.
Hindsight's 2020, bro. You're talking all this noise about like, they should have done that. Like, yeah, hindsight's 2020. Russ couldn't miss. Russ literally could not miss. Couldn't miss. You go for the game. I like it. I have no issue with that. And the Seahawks won either way. Let's talk about this last play of the game, though. I think you and I are kind of very much in disagreement here, if I'm not mistaken. I have absolutely no issue with the play call there from the Pats. That's the money Cam Newton goal line play. It is passion.
I don't disagree with you, but if you watch the game again, they had tried it twice already,
and it didn't work. But he didn't get touched both times. He walked into the end zone.
When they were working out of the spread or they were working out of the gun, it wasn't working at times. I don't hate the play call. I don't like the lack of options that are there. And if you watch it again,
but it's not about options. It's about
Cam bounces it outside, and he has a touchdown. He goes in crawling.
Look, again, I think if you're the Pats, you say, all right, Cam Newton coming to this game had 19 or no, let's see. He had 3 carries from the 1 in this game?
Mm-hmm.
So he had 17 goal line carries and 14 of those were touchdowns.
Yeah. That's what I don't hate giving
Why
him
on
the
earth?
ball to run.
You give if you're the Patriots, you say, all right, we're getting 10 guys to block for Cam Newton for 1 yard with the game on the line. If you can't do it, if you can't do it, you can't do it. You've got to be able to get 1 yard there. And like you said yourself, if Cam Newton just bounces it outside, that's a touchdown.
You had seen how well the fullback leak had been, or you have Izzo on the end of the line there. That's what I'm saying. I don't hate the decision to run it with him. I don't like the lack of options that were there because
it's not about lack of options. The Patriots saying
it's always about lack of options. I mean,
you gotta saying we're getting how many pounds of man do you think the Patriots had blocking for Cam Newton right there?
I mean, a lot, and it clearly wasn't enough.
They brought in their heavy set and brought in a fullback. It was enough. He had the touchdown if he bounced it outside. If anything, it's on Cam Newton.
He didn't. Okay,
Cam.
But I don't. If there's so much empty space there, and you have 2 people that can catch a ball out there. I don't like
that though. It's about you can't block for Cam Newton for 1 yard. He's the best goal line threat the NFL's ever seen. I would run that play another 100 times.
Tom Brady. Funny.
Cam Newton is the best goal line running back the NFL's ever seen. 6'5", 250. Like
I think there you have another option. You have a run pass option, or you have multiple routes you can take there. I think if you're Cam,
he's got multiple routes you can take. He's got a 10-man front blocking for him. He can take it whichever way he wants.
I mean, after the game, to be fair,
also
Cam
let's give credit to the Seahawks. Like,
yeah, no, absolutely,
they blew it up. And then I don't know if I saw a really interesting breakdown from Jeff Schwartz on Twitter, who's an ex-offensive lineman, who was pointing out a really interesting play by Bobby Wagner. Bobby Wagner, I think, or at least what this guy Schwartz was saying, was that Bobby Wagner was probably supposed to go front side on that play.
Mm-hmm.
Decided to sneak it backside, and it worked out because whatever that front side D lineman was for the Seahawks got into the backfield, blew it up, and then there was supposed to be a pulling guard clearing the way for Cam Newton to go to the left edge. The pulling guard had to stop because Bobby Wagner snuck it backside and was going to bring Cam Newton down otherwise. And I think that's a big reason why Cam couldn't get it. It was a great play by the Seahawks, but again, like if I'm New England, I run that play every single time from the 1, and I think you get it more. Cam Newton now after the game, 16 goal line carries. Or 20 goal line carries, 16 touchdowns. Like, how can you argue with that?
You're
hitting a touchdown on 80+% of your plays here.
I think we're talking circles here, but I think if you have your fullback in line with you to the left. You have your tight end to the left. You'd see how how the slip out works from someone you expect to be on the line and just blocking.
Look, the Pats ran this exact same play earlier in the game, and Cam Newton walked in.
Yeah, and then they also ran the same exact play, and they had someone sneak out, and it was a wide open touchdown too, right?
I don't think all I'm saying is get a yard and got beat.
All I'm saying is, what do you expect to happen there? I think the Seahawks were bailing out on a run there. I think it's a wide open touchdown. But
I feel like people are missing that point though. Like, I don't think New England was even trying to disguise the run. They were saying, we've got 10 guys to block for the best goal line back in the league.
Well, and that's why you pass it. That's why you pass it.
No, it's not. It's exactly – you don't think – like, the Pats' O-line is the strength of their team. You don't think they can get 1 yard with 10 guys blocking for Cam Newton? 10 guys. Literally all 10 players blocking for one guy.
With a front like Seattle's?
Seattle's run defense isn't even that good anymore.
Jamal Adams played really well.
Adams is a safety. He's not a D-lineman.
I said their defensive front. Like, it's
and then you branch
on a goal line, everyone's on the front. Like, Jamal Adams was on the line.
I don't think there's no issue with that. It's a perfect play call. Cam Newton hits that 16 times out of 20. If I gave you those odds pregame and said, all right, you've got one play, here's a play that
you can't look at it in a vacuum. You can't just look at it in a vacuum.
I mean, it's not a vacuum. Look at the numbers.
I think when you look at
the 20 on that play, like, you run that play every time.
On the 2-point conversion earlier in the game, they had worked out of the spread. Cam was in the shotgun. Jamal Adams got to Cam. I think there's enough evidence there that you at least have more options. But if we want to move on to another game and you want to talk about bad play calling and just blown opportunities.
To a degree, though. I mean, Falcons-Cowboys, like, as much as I'd love to sit here and, like, bash the Falcons for choking this one away, like, that game was over. No one recovers onside kicks anymore. That does not happen.
We need to talk about what happened in the game before we even get there. I mean, we have to talk about the fact that the Falcons were up 20 with 7 minutes to go, I think,
and then up 15 with 5 to go. Like,
I think they're the first team in NFL history to, I think, have like over 400 yards of offense or something like that, commit no turnovers, and still lose. Like, jeez, man.
If we can work backwards here, like I said, the game was over. No one recovers onside kicks, and that onside kick from Zuerlein,
Zuerlein.
Side note, I somehow completely missed that Zuerlein signed with the Cowboys this offseason. I remember I was watching Week 1, and he came out for a field goal. I was like, excuse me?
Break the leg.
Break the legs on the Cowboys?
Football's hard enough to keep track of player movement, and then if you try to do it with kickers, like, it's impossible.
Exactly.
Like, Gostkowski came out with the Titans, and I was like, oh.
And somehow still has his job. But anyways, back to this onside kick. Like, for the first 80% of that ball's flight, looked like it was going straight out of bounds. Atlanta gets it, game over.
Yeah.
And then, like, I don't know if they turned, like, the fans on. I don't know if they turned the magnets on. Like, they did something. And that ball just went, whoop! I have no words. It was literally the perfect onside kick.
Was it lucky? Absolutely. But was it also perfect execution by Zuerlein? Yes.
Absolutely.
Do we also have to talk about the fact that the Falcons were completely unprepared, right? Like, there are not that many rules on an onside kick. The kicking team has to wait 10 yards before they can try to recover it. The receiving team does not have to wait. And I get you want to stay back. You don't think it's going to go 10 yards. You want to watch it go. But you see enough Cowboys players there, and they're just watching, and it's going towards the 10-yard line that it needs to. Like, you got to jump on the ball.
That's what I thought for the longest time. And then I was reading an article, I think last night or maybe yesterday after you bailed on the show because you got hit by a bus. If you're the Falcons, like, recovery, you're the Falcons onside kick team, right? You're looking at this ball absolutely spinning in circles. That's still like 5 yards away from where it needs to be and looks like it's just going to travel straight out of bounds. That's a real risky proposition to try to dive on that ball and pop it out. How many times have we seen, like, someone try to dive on a loose ball, a spinning ball like that, and it just pops out wherever, and then all of a sudden the Cowboys get the ball and you look like an idiot? Like, as easy as it is to play the Falcons,
10 yards and you still look like an idiot, Like,
that's literally a 1 in a million type of play that ball hooks exactly past the 10 and literally, like, lands in a spot that only a Cowboys player can dive on it. Like, as much as I want to like bash the Falcons for choking this one away, like everything had to go exactly perfectly right for the Cowboys to end up with that onside kick, and it did. And then the Cowboys still had to go and drive and get the game-winning field goal.
Yeah. Well, at that point, as soon as the Cowboys recovered it, you're like, they're gonna win.
Yeah,
this.
that's
with like a minute and a half left, they were already in field goal position for Greg the Leg. I remind
Gregory the Leggery is his formal name.
Gregory the Leggery. Okay, you don't want to bash Falcons. I do. Like, you don't know the rules. That reflects poorly on the players.
That's absolute, bro. That is not the case. You're like that line gets me so frustrated. Like,
what?
People on Twitter saying the Falcons weren't aware of the rules. Like, are you kidding me? You think NFL players don't know the rules of the game? Like, come on.
As soon as that ball is traveling more than 7 yards and it looks like it has a chance to stay in bounds.
But it didn't look like it had a chance to stay in bounds until it literally took a hard right. Like, the ball was not going.
Literally to
say the Falcons don't know the rules is so like it's just
after 7-8 yards, like that ball was staying in bounds.
There's a difference between shitty execution and not knowing the rules. I think it was shitty execution. I don't think the Falcons are going out there not knowing the fucking rules of an onside kick. Like, come on. These are NFL players we're talking about. This is not middle school football.
I think that's poor coaching, and from a coaching staff that we've seen.
I think it's poor coaching, poor execution, but said they didn't know the rules. Like, come on.
Dive on the
You're telling me a group of NFL players don't know the rules?
It's possible.
No, it's not. They're in the NFL. You're telling me they don't know the fucking rules of an onside kick? Come on. They know the rules.
I don't know.
No, it's not.
Dude,
No, it's not. If you and I know the rules, you and I know it has to go 10 yards. You're telling me the Falcons hands team doesn't know it has to go 10 yards? Come on.
Apparently not if you're just going to stare at the ball for 10 seconds.
We went over this because the ball was spinning like a top.
Watch it again and tell me after 7 yards it doesn't look like it's going to stay.
Look, poor coaching, poor execution. Absolutely. You can't tell me the Falcons didn't know the rules.
I don't know.
Like, that's
all I know is that in 3 weeks, if the Falcons don't have a winning record, Dan Quinn shouldn't have a job anymore. That's all.
We also haven't even mentioned the fact that Julio Jones, of all people, just straight dropped a touchdown.
That was brutal.
It was thrown by Russell Gage or whoever they ran with a Wildcat there. But, like, that's a touchdown. It's Julio Jones.
Brutal.
Hit him in the hands. That's a touchdown.
Beautiful flea flicker. It wasn't a flea flicker. It was on the Wildcat.
No, it was a Wildcat, right? Yeah, I think it was Russell Gage throwing it.
Yeah, perfect throw. I don't know if he took his eyes off of it because you can see, like, he has it in his hand and he's looking at it, and then last second just drops out of his hands. Some of the most sure.
If you're throwing that to like Matt Ryan on some Philly special type of play, you understand it. But like that's arguably the best wide receiver in the league dropping an easy touchdown.
Oh, brutal.
And there's just a million things the Falcons had to do to lose this game, and they got basically all of them. Yeah. And give a ton of credit to Dak Prescott, like 450 yards, 4 total touchdowns. That's MVP level production, if you ask me.
Yeah.
Am I saying I don't think Dak's going to win the MVP, but like that's literally willing your team to a win right there.
Yeah. I mean, their first like 5 possessions, they tried like 2 different fakes, fumbled the ball like 3 times. Like,
right, it was a disaster of a start for Dallas. 3 fumbles in the first quarter. Like you don't expect to win that game at all.
Yeah. The Falcons, we knew they didn't have good, pass defense, and they just got absolutely shredded. Zeke shredded them on the ground too. We'll talk a little bit about hot seats after. Let's just rip through. Yeah, let's just rip through a couple of different games. Ravens Texans. I don't have that much to say on it. I mean, the Ravens look just really good.
Another game where Justin Tucker puts the Ravens on his back.
Oh my God. I'm not gonna respond to that.
No, I mean. It's a game where the Ravens show why they're Super Bowl favorites, both sides of the ball. And like, it wasn't even like the thing that always impresses me about these like elite teams with elite expectations. Like everyone always expects them to win and it's going to look pretty and Lamar's going to be cutting people up and it's going to be like a perfect textbook game. This wasn't. The Ravens won an ugly game. No. But like, that's what the best teams do is they win games where it doesn't quite go the way they want it to. I mean, I don't think there's a reason why I think the Ravens should be Super Bowl favorites this year. Like there's just roster wise and talent wise, like offense, defense, special teams, they do it on all 3 sides. I was going to say all 3 sides of the ball, all 3 phases of the game.
Got to win in all 3 phases of the game. That's your classic, like high school, college coach doesn't want to answer your questions.
In particular, does that? What could you possibly be referring to?
See, I can't say that because I saw this saw this thread on Twitter. This guy was like, just drop all your like random cliches that you like coaches have like said over the last couple of like years or whatever to you guys, and like so many people had put that. And I'm like, I can't even do that.
Just trying to
I
go
mean,
1 hour each
pretty
week.
rough to evaluate the Texans 2 weeks in. You got to feel for them. The fact that they lost to the Chiefs and the Ravens, but they've lost by like combined like 30 points. It's very clear they're not in the upper echelon of the NFL.
It's
This
almost
is
like
like a
losing
team who's
a top 2 wide receiver in the NFL
right.
really hurts your offense. Like
I
that's
you
not
talk
something
about people.
I got on here I think 2 weeks ago and was saying that I think Brandon Cooks can be a number 1 wide receiver.
If you Brandon Cooks puts up empty stats. But he does. But he is like a 3-time like 1,000-yard receiver.
I think it's 4-time. How empty can 4,000-yard seasons be? I mean,
no,
like 1,000-yard season could be a fluke. Like that happens. I think Hakeem Nicks had a 1,000-yard season.
Who?
I think Hakeem Nicks had a 1,000-yard season back in the day. Like Hakeem Nicks was not a number 1 wide receiver. He's out of the league. Like Brandon Cooks has with 4 separate teams too.
Yeah,
like that's more than.
Let's see, who was it with the Saints? The Saints, the
Pats, Rams. Maybe it is just 3,000-yard seasons.
Yeah, I think it's just 3.
Either way, it's like,
look, the Texans are like ceiling wise like an 8-win team. Like
I don't know about that.
Again, it's hard to evaluate
they get
them.
More than 8 wins this season? No shot they get more than 8.
I'd put their ceiling at 9.
We're talking ceiling or like expectations?
A ceiling.
I think ceiling you're looking at like 10.
I don't have their schedule in front of me, but like, you know, it's not like the Titans are going to roll over, and the Jags clearly have shown they're not going to roll over either.
Look, do you think Deshaun Watson is a top 4, top 5 quarterback in the NFL today?
Well, I think he is, but
I think
again,
if you
the hard
believe
thing
Deshaun
is
Watson is an elite NFL quarterback, then you're looking at I think he's the type of guy that can carry a team to 10 wins, maybe.
I think it's just hard to evaluate them because their first 2 games have been against, you know, the title favorites or the co-title favorites, which they're going to play on Sunday night, I think.
No, it's Monday night next week. Chiefs
Monday.
Ravens.
Nice. And I know you're excited about. Yeah, I know you're excited about Thursday Night Football again.
I really cannot believe you sat here and tried to tell me that Thursday Night Football isn't the worst thing that the NFL's ever done.
No, I never said that. I'm just saying Monday Night Football also has shitty games, and I will never complain about an extra night to watch football. That's all.
I'd rather have good games. I'd rather have a good game.
I mean, yeah, but I'd rather have like a decent game, and I'm not saying this coming game is decent. I'd rather have a decent game on Thursday night than just I'd rather have a decent game on Thursday night than just bury another one.
But even when you get like a good matchup on Thursday night, like it's like I said the other week, the teams just aren't ready. It is not a good product. It's not like you're losing a game like during the week. If they kill Thursday Night Football, it's not like 2 teams just aren't going to play.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'm all about axe Thursday Night Football. I'll say that every week. Kill Thursday Night Football. It's not good. It's not good for us, and it's not good for the players. And honestly, the fans are more important. But
it's not good. Speaking of bad products, Saints really put up a pooper last night. The Raiders beat them by 10. They just absolutely stomped them in the second half. Drew Brees looked terrible without Mike Thomas. I think this is more about the Saints than the Raiders, honestly.
I think everyone who wants to say that Mike Thomas isn't the best receiver in the NFL is looking real dumb right now. I mean, look at that narrative frustrates me to no end, almost as much as people saying the Falcons players didn't know the rules of an onside kick. Michael Thomas is the best receiver in the NFL. Like, he wins on every route you ask him to. Like, he just wins routes. He gets separation better than anyone in the league. Like, you want to say that he's one-dimensional? It's like he can only run the routes he's asked to run. And if you can't, he runs a ton of slants and he makes these like 6-7 yard catches. A, he makes people miss after the catch. And B, if he only runs slants, stop him. Like, stop him from running a slant. Stop him from catching the ball. Like, you can't.
You're buying or selling this. Drew Brees isn't good enough to carry a team anymore.
without Michael Thomas?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, obviously, without your number one receiver, it's kind of hard. And I think, Michael Thomas is obviously a team that's going to, it's the type of player that's going to bring a team that lost to the Raiders on Monday night up to like a potential title contender. But Drew Brees hasn't looked good through 2 weeks. He just doesn't look like a quarterback that can carry a team without like, the best receiver in the league.
Yeah, I know. I was listening to what you said. I'm like, what can I possibly disagree with there? Nothing.
Well, that's what I'm saying, like buying or selling it, because like this might be the year that, we started seeing some decline from Tom Brady last season, and he hasn't looked great yet, although they did pick up the win. I will say though,
against the Panthers, and he didn't look good.
Yeah,
I do. Are we talking about that now?
Yeah, well, we'll move on to it next time. Let's just put a bow on Saints Raiders. But Brady, the Bucs are leading the league with most drop balls by a receiver.
It's almost like what didn't the Pats lead the league in drops last year?
Yeah.
What's the common denominator there?
Bad receivers. I don't know.
I think the common denominator is Tom Brady. That's what I was getting at.
Well, I'd have to watch every single drop to see if it is just him, not placing them well. Because I can promise you, last season it was not.
Also, we're joking about this, but like a drop, like the statistic drops is literally when like a receiver drops a catchable pass.
Yeah. Yeah,
I'm just making a joke at Brady. Going into the season, I really didn't know how I was going to feel about like the Patriots with Brady not on them. Mm-hmm. And the answer I found out is I still hate both Tom Brady and the New England Patriots.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Are you not having fun watching Cam Newton at least? Like Cam and Bill Belichick, like that's got to be one of the best pairings so far.
I was talking with Josh about this, and I've mentioned this to a couple other people.
Friend of the pod, Josh.
Friend of the pod, Josh.
Okay.
There's a very specific type of like anxiety or just like pure hatred I get from watching like a New England sports team do well. And that's still very much there with the Patriots. Okay. Same with the Celtics. Like watching the Celtics Heat series, which we'll talk about later, obviously. Like it's fun, but like the thought of the Celtics getting to the NBA Finals makes you want to throw up.
Oh, you got quite a hill to climb before.
Yeah. Let's run through these last few NFL games. I mean,
just before we move on from Saints Raiders, I mean, they talk about their sloppy play yesterday. You talk about a team not being prepared. 10 penalties for 129 yards. A couple of them a little borderline. I know we were talking about this in our group chat last night. There was the block in the back, or the blindside block by Emmanuel Sanders.
That's the rule.
That's the rule.
It's a dumb rule. It is an awful rule, and it's like clearly they've got to tweak it, bro. There was one I forget.
I know.
It was like one of the Sunday games, and it was like
not Sunday. Yeah.
It was a blindside block by the rule, but the guy, they were running parallel, like not in the direction of the goal line or whatever, like the letter of the rule is, but like it wasn't even a big hit.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it wasn't the type of blindside where the dude gets like laid out and is unconscious on the ground. Like it was. They've got to adjust the language of that rule.
Yeah, well, because what we saw with the Emmanuel Sanders one is that like, what else are you supposed to do there, right? Like you can't get in his line of sight because he's not looking.
What are you supposed to do? Just
thankfully he didn't get hurt, but it's got to be like if you just like push them out of the way, like you can do that. They got to make some way to adjust that because that's a big thing that, obviously NFL teams do when they bounce a run outside is that they have their wide receivers out there to block. And then if they have to come back in to block along the sidelines, like there's
it's trying to legislate like legitimate football plays out. It's like the thing that frustrates me about all these type of rules where it's like, what? I had to burp.
Ew, gross.
You think I was going to like yak?
It kind of looked that way, honestly.
What I was saying, it's like football's a violent game played by very strong, very fast, very athletic men who are paid to hit each other. Big, strong men. Like, trying to legislate every single, like, dangerous play out of football is not possible. It's a dangerous game.
I'm all for making it safer, but
legislate. There's no need for a helmet-to-helmet hit. There's no need for a chop block is an incredibly dangerous play. Get those out.
When I forgot his first name, when Diggs got ejected from the Seahawks against the Patriots, Quandre Diggs, like that was helmet to helmet, and like he lowered his helmet to initiate contact. That's the right call. He got ejected. That was the right call. First of all, how did N'Keal Harry stay in that game? Like
I could
there
not
was
tell you.
there was kind of a knock on him from at least from like Patriots fans and Patriots Twitter that he was kind of soft. I think that's we're good on that now.
Yeah.
And also
that type of thing is just so it's like it's Twitter. Like
yeah.
It's Twitter.
Let's run through the last couple of games. I told you Philly was going to suck before the season started, and they're just making me look a little better. The Rams messed them up, an 18-point win. Doubled them up.
You want to talk about Philly being bad, but also the Rams looking a lot better than they did last year. I mean, like it's so tough to evaluate the Rams the last 2 years because they literally ran through the league, went to the Super Bowl, got embarrassed.
The Rams Huh? Any takers?
All right, guys, that's been all for today. I'm gonna run to the Super Bowl, get smoked, and then come out last year and just look flat.
Get smoked? I don't think anyone smoked anyone.
Not smoked. Thoroughly beaten. Like it was not competitive. It was not competitive.
Yeah, but it was a shitty game.
It was a terrible game. But like, did you ever for an instant think the Rams were going to win that Super Bowl?
Oh yeah, I'd probably have to watch it again just to be like, oh, this
really
is the point where I thought. No, I'm probably good. That's the only Super Bowl. That's the only Patriots Super Bowl win that I have not watched back because I'm like, I have no need to watch. No, I literally have never watched it back. Like
probably the worst Super Bowl we're ever gonna see.
Hopefully,
I hope so. I mean, like, how much worse could it possibly get? There was like one total red zone trip.
At least you could say like these were two really good defenses and they played like two really good defenses. But like it's not like the offense did any favors.
But anyways, what I was saying about the Rams. Again, through 2 weeks, they look like they've, Sean McVay, to his credit, is an incredibly smart offensive coach, and he's clearly made some adjustments. And I don't know, I have to do like a film study, but it looks like the Rams have figured out some different looks that are back to kind of being like not asking Jared Goff to do too much, but just having him hit, wide open throwing windows.
I'll be completely honest with you. I didn't watch this game. I didn't watch highlights for this game. Like I just saw the box. Well, yeah, for this Rams game. All I saw were Carson Wentz's picks.
Yeah.
And I saw Baldy's breakdown too. Like, he's late on these throws. He's trying to do too much, and he's making decisions that a rookie would make. And the amount that they're paying him and the amount that they're asking him to do or that he needs to do in their system –
it's too much.
It's too much. And he's not handling it. And
I think the frustrating
thing – we have to start having that conversation about him.
Is like we're friends with a couple Eagles fans. I feel like the consensus on there is no consensus on Carson Wentz. That's the consensus. It's like you've seen the flash. I mean, he's your classic. Like you've seen the elite play and you've seen the terrible play, and it's like, what are you actually getting with Carson Wentz?
And you mix in the injuries with that, and it makes it
the
worse.
Injuries as well. And I think the funny thing is like, yeah, the Eagles have a Super Bowl, but how much did Carson Wentz have to do with that Super Bowl?
No, he carried them in the regular season until the last four games. I think.
That was the playoff game.
Well, that was the thing. It was just like, Carson Wentz is our quarterback of the future, and he led us there, but not.
But he didn't start play a single like that.
Yeah, like that's why it was like when Nick Foles was when they were trading him away. When he left in free agency, you were like, okay, like, are we sure we're keeping the right quarterback here? And obviously you are, because Carson Wentz is younger and objectively is a better quarterback.
You say that.
You're like, ugh. But Nick Foles has also shown us, flashes of being really bad too.
It reminds me of like the end of Eli Manning's career, where we're like Giants fans are like, okay, Eli like clearly doesn't have it anymore. Like we got to move on. But the dude's got 2 rings. Like he gets as much leash as he freaking wants to run out the end of his career with the Giants. He's got 2 rings.
It's different. Nick Foles isn't lifer. Like
I'm talking about Carson Wentz. Like he doesn't have, like, yes, he has a ring. He had nothing to do with it. He didn't play a single snap in the postseason.
I wouldn't say he had nothing.
He doesn't have nothing to do with it. He didn't win. He didn't play in the Super Bowl. He didn't play in the postseason. Yeah. Like, you know who else has got a ring? Like the backup long snapper from that year. It's like, he has a ring. But it's not like he single-handedly won them the Super Bowl.
Yeah, no, fair.
He doesn't. I don't think he doesn't have like. It seems like he's got a bit of a leash because of that Super Bowl, but he didn't win them the Super Bowl.
What is he on year 5 now? I think something like that.
I can't tell because we have to have that conversation.
We got to have that conversation about him. I mean, he hasn't shown that improvement. He's hurt too often.
I mean, he's not going anywhere.
He's not going. His contract is massive. Their offensive line is all banged up. It is a team that we've known for a while does not have, the elite offensive weapons they need. Like, dude, like Philly's not going to be good this year, and it's not looking like it's going to get better anytime soon.
I'm done talking about the Eagles personally.
Yeah.
A couple more NFL games. I don't know. Oh, the Eagles. Wow. A couple other NFL games to get to. The Chiefs needed overtime to beat San Diego.
Yeah. Biggest thing
is that
Chiefs did it.
How concerned? I don't think you have any reason to be concerned if you're Kansas City. But
no.
Why do they have to go to overtime against the Chargers?
They're not concerned. And
also, I called them San Diego.
Yeah, you did. I didn't even pick up.
Yeah, I was going to say you didn't respond. You didn't say anything either. The LA Chargers.
Well, yeah. Yesterday when the Raiders were playing and they kept showing Vegas, I was like, oh, this is weird.
What?
also kept thinking how soon do we get an NBA team in Vegas? I think Seattle's probably still first.
Seattle's got to be first. Seattle's got to be.
You say that they got to be first? Yeah, they got to be first.
Right, but if I'm in charge, I'm putting an NBA team back in Seattle before I put a team in Vegas.
They should, but there's more money in Vegas probably.
More money in Vegas, but you've also got a dedicated fan base. Well, actually, I don't even know if you could say that dedicated, but
no, you kidding me? If basketball went back to Seattle, the city would catch fire.
Yeah, fair. I think you got to go Seattle first, personally.
Yeah, Justin Herbert looked really good. I mean,
can you believe what Anthony Lynn was saying about Tyrod Taylor still being the starter?
Well,
what does that do to Herbert's confidence?
Herbert found out 10 seconds before the game started. Did you see that video?
How does that happen?
Well, Tyrod Taylor was fine. He had taken a hit in Friday's practice or in Thursday's practice. I think Friday you just do walkthroughs probably.
Yeah.
In Thursday's practice, he took a hit to the ribs. Said he was fine, and then Sunday morning he was having trouble breathing and he had chest pains. So I had to bring him to the hospital. So literally 15 seconds before the game, Anthony Lynn went up to Justin Herbert and was like, "Hey, I know this is the second game you've been on an NFL roster, but you're going to start today."
And that's inexcusable.
And he responded incredibly well.
As soon as Tyrod Taylor goes, and I don't know what the timeline on Tyrod Taylor going to the hospital was, but I would imagine it was somewhat.
Well, it was
less
in pregame warmups. It was, it might have been less than half an hour to go because it was pregame warmups. It was probably.
I thought it was
that
out. Morning.
No. It was in the pregame warmups where he was getting his practice throws in, and he was like, "Shit, I can't breathe." Yeah. But he responded really well. The Chiefs didn't look their sharpest. I still don't think there's any reason for.
No reason to panic. As long as Patrick Mahomes and Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce are together, not worried.
You got nothing to worry about.
I just don't know why the Chargers. Last point. I don't know why the Chargers don't go with Justin Herbert. You just took the defending champs to overtime. There's your starting spot right there.
I think
you're going Tyrod Taylor over Justin Herbert after that.
I know. I don't. I also don't think Anthony Lynn is going to. I think you say that just to keep your starting quarterback with confidence, but also
But also Tyrod knew what he was getting into when he signed.
Well, and that's the thing. This is not the first time that Tyrod Taylor's done it.
Not
right?
at all.
He did it in Buffalo too. He knows he's just a placeholder for the future quarterback of the franchise.
Exactly.
Arizona looks good.
Wow. I was nervous. I was a big buyer on Cardinals stock, at least in terms of fantasy. On different teams, I've got Kyler, I've got D-Hop, I've got Kenyon Drake, I've got Chase Edmonds. I think I have Christian Kirk on my bench in one league. I was a big believer that the Cardinals, at least offensively, were going to be really good this year. Mm-hmm. I mean, they've outperformed expectations, at least my expectations personally.
Yeah.
And Kyler Murray looks every bit the part of the game-breaking talent that people thought he could be, that Cliff Kingsbury thought it would be when he drafted him first overall a year after taking Josh Rosen.
Yeah, I mean, a lot more comfortable in your second year with your head coach. You get that number one receiver because Fitzgerald Fitzgerald is done. Hopkins is he's a I think he's a 1A 1B receiver with Mike Thomas.
I think exactly. I think gun to my head, I think it's Mike Thomas then D-Hop.
I still take Mike Thomas, but then again, D-Hop's had Deshaun Watson the last couple of years, and now he has Kyler Murray. But who the fuck did he have before that? Matt Schaub.
Yeah.
I can't believe Matt Schaub is still in the league, by the way. I don't know what team he's on, but I saw a tweet. It was Matt Schaub got paid more. I think he also got paid more. I think he also got paid more than Cam Newton this offseason.
Matt Schaub is a backup for the Falcons. Nice.
There you go.
39 years old. Wow.
Kyler Murray's like the first quarterback. I think it was over 400 passing yards and 150 rush yards through 2 weeks. Like,
I think this is like it's like so cherry picked, these type of stats, but it's like he's got like more rushing yards than C-Mac. He's got more rushing touchdowns than I think Zeke, and then like more passing yards than Mahomes. Like that type of stuff is so like.
Yeah, I know.
You can find a way to do it, but like he's got more passing yards than Patrick Mahomes, more rushing yards than Christian McCaffrey, more touchdowns than Zeke. Like that's something.
Yeah. And looking at the Panthers schedule, looking at the Cardinals schedule, like they could win they got the Lions, the Panthers, and the Jets. They should go 3-0 in those games. Yeah. All of a sudden, you're looking at a 5-0 team. Then they play the Cowboys and the Seahawks. They'll probably split those.
Could very well lose both of those.
Could lose both of them, but then you're sitting at 5-2, and then you got the Dolphins, the Bills, which should be a great game, Seahawks again, Patriots, really Rams, Giants, Eagles, Niners, and then Rams again. So they got a pretty tough end of their schedule.
I'll tell you right now, the Giants will beat the Cardinals, and it will cost them the number 1 overall pick. That's what the Giants do. The Giants will play like shit the rest of the season because we lost Saquon Barkley, win like 2 meaningless games down the stretch, and miss out on Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah.
The Giants beat the Redskins in week the Washington football team. And they were the Redskins when they beat them last year, and it cost them Chase Young. Like, we needed a left tackle, but I certainly would have preferred Chase Young.
Yeah, he's good.
He's so
let's get to the
last point on the NFL here before we move on to the NBA. I think we're probably gonna have to switch out the live video.
Yeah, I've picked 3 head coaches for you on the hot seat, right? And then I want to ask you. Then after this, I want to just ask some questions about the Giants. Or one question I have. On the hot seat, Dan Quinn in Atlanta, Adam Gase in New York with the Jets, and then Matt Patricia with the Lions in Detroit. Who's on the hottest seat?
With the qualifier, that I don't think anyone's seat is like anywhere close to hot through 2 weeks, just because I don't think it's not fair to be. For me, I think you start talking about hot seat like 5 weeks in. You need more than 2 games to really talk about hot seat. That said, I think it's Adam Gase.
I think that's unfair, honestly, because Dan Quinn was fighting for his job last season, and there was talks about him potentially getting fired in the offseason. Adam Gase had a terrible last season. I think, honestly, out of those 3, Adam Gase is probably
3 Adam Gases.
Yeah, out of those 3, Adam Gase's seat is probably the coldest, just because I just think because Dan Quinn has the most talent on that team. I think that's indisputable, right?
I think Adam Gase has been talked about as offensive genius for like 3 years now. And the Jets' offense has been trash ever since he's been there. Like,
but also,
they don't have a lot of talent, but like, you got to do something more than that.
But then in the same token, you're like, Matt Patricia is a rocket scientist and a guru on the defensive end, and their defense has been terrible. They've just been signing a bunch of Patriots guys, and the defense is just falling apart back-to-back weeks. They've been terrible. He's said some questionable things in press conferences that you're like, what the fuck? Like, does this guy know what he's doing? Like, I think Dan Quinn his seat is by far the hottest.
I don't know. I just think that he's got just enough like past success to buy him more time than the other 2.
What past success? I mean, like,
he's got at least an established career as like a good NFL coach.
Yeah, but you can't give.
I'm not saying it's a lot of past success. I'm saying it's more than Adam Gase and Matt Patricia to just buy him that much more time than those guys.
Also, at this point, Matt Patricia has the same record through the same amount of games as Jim Caldwell did, and Jim Caldwell had gotten to the playoffs. I always thought Jim Caldwell wasn't good of a coach. Yeah. He coached the Lions, like, I don't think it was – I think it was
like a minute ago. Why are we talking about Jim Caldwell?
Well, no, just because there was a lot of talk about him getting fired, really, like, had a short leash in his coaching career. And it's just because Matt Patricia was like, oh, he's going to be a much better coach. And he has the same record. That's the only reason.
We've got like 3 minutes left on this live video. Hit me with whatever Giants questions you want.
It's not even a question. I just kind of want to just like keep pounding in your pain. It's just like, it's so tough because, I know you weren't
believe this guy. Like what? Come on.
I I know you were big on Saquon, but I also know you didn't want to draft him number 2 overall, right?
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, I'll
Yeah,
stand
you
by that
didn't
one.
want to draft him.
Don't draft the running back second overall.
Yeah,
don't do
just
it.
because it was a running back. I know you weren't a believer in Daniel Jones, and he showed some flashes in week 1. I don't know how he looked in week 2, but obviously you don't have your biggest offensive threat. You know, what happens now when you have that running back, which this is why you don't draft running backs so early, because
well, it's not just because it's not
injuries
even bad.
and value.
Injuries and value. It's nothing to do with injuries. Like everyone gets hurt. It's football.
Yeah. And then, you know, and now you might, if you have the number 1 overall pick, it's not like you're not going to draft Trevor Lawrence, right? Like,
exactly. I mean,
then what do you do with? If we
can draft Trevor, get rid of him. If you can get Trevor Lawrence, you don't care about Daniel Jones.
And it's just
don't care about him.
Incompetence, pure incompetence.
I mean, look, again, I'll stand by the fact that I don't think we should have taken Saquon second overall. I mean, I for the longest time was saying I wanted Sam Darnold. I don't know about that anymore.
Yeah.
But it's like, what if we went, completely living in the past here? What if Giants went Sam Darnold at 2 and then Nick Chubb top of the second? That's a pretty solid one, too. Maybe Sam Darnold plays better when he's got a legit running back and not like an $80 million aging Le'Veon Bell.
Or just he has any offensive threats, really, any.
I mean, what if we took Darnold, then Chubb, but like also kept Odell around? I mean,
yeah,
you can play this game forever. Like,
yeah, you
can play the game forever.
Yeah. Okay, we're gonna switch out our live stream. We'll be right back talking some NBA. All right, so we covered the NFL. We should have a good week 3 as well. We'll get to that on Thursday when we do our show. Yeah, not Thursday Night Football. Lakers Nuggets. Let's start with
this Anthony Davis guy.
Let's in the middle, let's go with Anthony Davis. Holy shit! And at the end, let's go with, as you eloquently put it on the rundown, Davis, Anthony. Holy shit!
I mean, like, it's so rare that you get to see a guy hit like literally, unquestionably, the biggest shot of his career.
Yeah.
And we just watched Anthony Davis do it. I mean, obviously he's never been in a moment like this. He had never been to the conference finals. Had he even been to the conference semis with New Orleans?
Mm-hmm. Yes, he got smoked by the Warriors.
Right. That was the one where Steph hit that like wild shot in the corner, right? Was that year?
Yeah, I think so.
Point being, he'd never been to the conference finals. Unquestionably one of the best players we've got in the NBA today.
Mm-hmm.
If you go back to like when he first got to the Lakers, you're like, okay, sweet. Like, we get to see Anthony Davis like in the playoffs, deep in the playoffs, in prime time, competing the way we know he can.
Mm-hmm.
And then to come, he's the best player on the floor in this series.
Yeah, and I mean, it's continue.
We mentioned this a little bit in terms of like why the Lakers were punching the Rockets, and I think you and I are both in agreement that it wasn't just because Anthony Davis was bigger than anyone the Rockets could throw on him. It was just that he was better and is a monster. I mean, I saw an article today that was talking about just the 2 biggest like physical freaks in the NBA. It actually wasn't even Giannis on that list. It was KD and then AD, which I think is kind of true. I mean, you watch them play and it's like they move like guards, but are also 7 feet tall. Like Giannis, for full respect to Giannis, does not move like a guard. He moves like a super athletic big man.
Yeah.
Every time I watch Anthony Davis hit a step back 3, like, it doesn't get old.
Well, AD was a guard until like, I think either his junior or senior year of high school. He grew like 7 inches.
No, literally played his whole high school career as a guard, and then it's like, all right, cool. I'm 6'10" now and playing at Kentucky.
And you know what I love,
cheat code. He's a complete and utter cheat code.
And we've if you've listened to our pod before in the past, like we both always call KD a cheat code because he's 7 feet tall. I can just pull up threes and dribble like a guard. And it's really like the beginning of his career didn't really have that handle and has really tightened it up. And he has a nice handle now, and he's a good defender. Like cheat codes.
It's just unbelievable the way he's so fluid. I mean, this is not stats. This is not like metrics. Just pure eye test. Like,
eye candy.
Just so unbelievably smooth the way he moves around the court, especially in like the half court. Just watching kind of like the way he there's one sequence 3 nights ago now. So spoiled with the fact that it used to be NBA games on every single night, and now it could be like 2 nights ago when they were playing. Watching kind of like pick and choose like where he wants to get to on the floor, and just like he's like not dribbling super aggressively, but he just like gets to a spot in a way that's like it's poetry. It's just poetry.
You talk about best player on the floor, scored the last 10 points for the Lakers. And we always talk about, with all-time players or, like top 10 players in the league, it's what is their signature moment, right? Like LeBron, amongst every single one that he has the block on Andre Iguodala, right?
Yeah,
like KD has the 2 pull-up threes in the finals, right? Like,
it's kind of funny. You say, does Kevin Durant have like a stone cold signature moment?
I'd say that that dagger moment is probably his.
The pull-up three. Are you talking in like the game 3 against the Cavs?
Yeah, both years.
Right.
Game 3 against the Cavs.
But like years. Even those aren't like stone cold game winners. They're like daggers. They're clinchers, but they're not like Anthony Davis had a stone cold game winner, zeros on the clock. Like
I know. But what the point I'm trying to get at is, like Kyrie has the 3 against the Warriors, these all-time players or all generational players, at least for us.
I think we can call Kevin Durant and Anthony Davis all-time players.
Yeah. I was just like, can you call Kyrie an all-time player?
Not yet.
I'd rather call them all generational players before I call them really all-time, right? Like AD still needs that ring to be an all-time player.
I'll call it.
What? Okay. Yeah. Okay. Whatever. Getting caught up on semantics. So
us? No, come on.
AD didn't have like that signature moment. Like he had a bank deep 3 against the Thunder, I think, to eliminate them from the playoffs, or like to eliminate them from playoff contention, like a couple of years ago.
Well, that's cool, but that's not a signature, not even close, legacy defining moment.
This was his signature moment, and like we have been talking about AD enough in the playoffs and all season long, and how him and LeBron have been 1A, 1B, and maybe even AD has been 1 and LeBron's been 2 in terms of who's been the best player. But this is AD's moment. Like he broke through. He was an absolute beast in the second half when LeBron kind of slipped into the background. Like he won the Lakers that game, and the Lakers were in control.
Despite Nikola Jokic's best efforts, like as much as AD deserves his praise, like Jokic absolutely took over in the fourth and scored the Nuggets' last 12, including what looked like the goddamn game winner.
Yeah, he had the game winner until AD hit that shot. They were up. The Lakers were up 16. They kind of took their foot off the pedal. Like
took their foot off the pedal, or did Nikola Jokic take
both?
Over?
Both.
I wouldn't say the Lakers. I don't think the Lakers let up at all. I think the Nuggets, or not even
the Lakers, got sloppy. The Lakers got real sloppy.
Yeah, they got a little bit sloppy. I think you got to give more credit to the Nuggets for getting back in that game, though, and it looked like they very easily could have just rolled over and called it a game.
Well, that's always the conversation with a comeback versus like a huge implosion. It's what we were talking about.
Semantics again. 30 seconds after the last minute. No way. That's crazy.
It's what we were talking about with the Falcons Cowboys, right? Like the Falcons fell apart. They collapsed. But the Cowboys, had over 400 yards of offense in the second half against them. You got to give credit on both sides. But, again, Jokic played really well. There were a lot of things that the Lakers can look at in that second half that they need to clean up on. But this was AD's moment, and we've talked enough about how good he's been in the playoffs and in the regular season. But now the conversation is him, right? Like this is – it's been back and forth whose team it is. I think it's still LeBron's team, but AD might be the better player on the floor.
100. That took the words out of my mouth. It's LeBron's team. Any team LeBron James is on, it's LeBron's team. Until he's like 45, and
even then, it might still be.
Even then, literally, I was like, honestly, I don't know if it'll ever.
Like Michael Jordan's Wizards, like again, not as good of a team, obviously, but that was MJ's team.
What's LeBron's like Wizards going to be? I mean, I know what I'm going to say, but I've told you my theory here.
Well, he's going to retire with the Knicks.
Bronny's going to get drafted by the Knicks. Like, I don't even care if Bronny's good or not. Like, the Knicks need to draft him just so he can get LeBron for one season. Anyways.
I don't think LeBron ends his career with the Lakers, so.
No, he doesn't. No shot.
I think maybe he goes for like a farewell tour.
He wins 2 rings and then signs.
Farewell tour with the Cavs?
No.
Honestly, him going to the Knicks and playing one last season where he averages like 15 and like 25 assists a game.
No, literally.
Not like the most absurd thing.
Let's talk about actual NBA basketball here. What do you think about the Mason Plumlee like not switch, ran straight into the back of LeBron James?
So they had done it before in that game on a side inbound where there was a
Made that
screen on
switch.
the big there was a screen on Jeremy Grant. Plumlee called it out, and they switched it correctly. The problem is Jeremy Grant got caught up on LeBron, which it was a good screen and a good design, which need to remind you, too, Jamal Murray had what could have been the game-saving block before that, and the Lakers didn't have a timeout, so they had that play drawn up already. It was that back screen on
a lot of that had drawn up, but that's probably just like one of their like chalk go-to
their go-to
out of timeout plays. Like our
and LeBron draws so much attention because there were 2.1 seconds, so there's enough time for a catch, a pump fake, maybe even a dribble and a shot.
Dribble here and there, yeah.
I like it. It's not, you want to switch everything, especially when it's between Mason Plumlee and Jeremy Grant. The problem with that is that Plumlee kind of got caught up on a nothing screen.
On nothing,
right? Like,
exactly.
He didn't get screened, and he did correctly call out Jeremy Grant, and the communication thing was the bigger thing there.
But also, Jeremy Grant literally called out to him before the play and was like, you got to help on LeBron if that's what it comes to.
Yeah, and give credit to Jokic, really good contest to make it a difficult shot.
But it makes a huge difference if that's not a clean catch.
Yeah.
Like, Anthony Davis is very capable of making that shot, even if it's not a clean catch. But, like, the fact that AD could rise up comfortably, know it in his face, that's huge.
And I think it's so interesting, too, because, you know, AD's, like, worst spot statistically on the floor is the left wing three.
Really?
And
I didn't know that.
And the two biggest shots he hit were on the game winner, obviously, and then that step back on Paul Millsap where he kind of lost the ball, which was absurd.
Oh, my God.
And we'll talk a little bit about AD's shot selection a little later. But what did you think about that switch? You kind of have the same thought?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, like, inexcusable. Like, I get that Plumlee was trying to help with LeBron. You can't get caught on a not screen. No. Like, that can't happen.
You at least got to try to fight
and that's the biggest thing. Don't run into LeBron when he's not setting a screen. He ran into LeBron's back. Like, it's just. I guess that part of it is that's the crux for defending the Lakers. Like, crunch time, you're gonna double LeBron and AD and play 3-on-1 the other side of the floor. Like,
I think
you get put in such an impossible position. But like, ultimately, you can't let a guy catch that. You can't let him catch that open.
At the end of the day, that's what it comes down to.
Make him make the extra pass and you've only got 2 seconds to work with. Like, you don't need to defend for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't want to give up a LeBron running to the rim, obviously. But it's like, I don't know. Hindsight.
I honestly,
it looks bad.
Imagine Danny Green. Yeah. Imagine Danny Green was the one that ended up hitting the game winner. That would have been pretty funny.
How would that have made? What would you have? What like weird memories would that have brought up for you?
No, nothing. The way Danny Green's playing, like, I'm good. Like, he was a fan favorite, but it wasn't the same. It wasn't the same, like, pain as it was when Kawhi left. Like, Kawhi was legitimately a very good player. Danny Green is a good defensive guard, but he is the most inconsistent.
Classic Spur.
Yeah, he's the most inconsistent good 3-point shooter I've ever seen in my life. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, that's like really good. That's pretty spot on, honestly.
I think, if Plumlee's going over that screen, which was his best route to it, if he goes under, he's toast. I think if he goes, like, over that screen, he might not get that great of a contest. Still, like, a better contest than the one the Nuggets ended up getting. But that should have just been a straight switch. The only problem is, I
wonder if Plumlee was expecting Jeremy Grant to, like, bump over to AD on that.
Yeah. I need to watch him play again. I don't know.
It wasn't like Plumlee, like, literally, like, smacked into LeBron. He, like, ran into him, but then was, like, looked like he was trying to defend LeBron or, like,
he was trying to go over the screen. Yeah, he was trying to go over the screen.
I don't know. It was like ugly.
Not a good route.
Not a good route. Yeah,
I want to look at the play again because I wonder if there was anyone in the paint, because then the thought there is because LeBron is pretty high. He's like at the
he's like right at the free throw line.
He's like right at the free throw line. So what happens if you're trying to go over and there's a miscommunication and Jeremy Grant runs out too, and then LeBron has a wide open lane, they throw an oop, right? It was Rondo, right? Was Rondo right that was inbounding? I'm pretty sure it was because
I don't even remember.
He had just come in for Caruso, who was short on
the thing that was kind of like, why was Plumlee even on the floor? That kind of didn't
defense. He's tall. He's like 7 feet.
But if you're gonna put him on the floor, wouldn't you rather have him defending? I guess Jokic was defending the inbound.
Yeah, Jokic was right there, or he was in the corner
defending the inbound.
I don't know. I'd rather have Plumlee out.
I like
there
Jokic's defensive instincts a lot more than I like Plumlee's.
Fair, but Jokic isn't keeping up with AD running around the screen. You want Jokic to chase after him?
Plumlee? I mean,
Plumlee's faster than Jokic is. I'd rather have Plumlee out there than.
It's not the type of thing we can productively argue. Like neither one. We're just gonna keep going in circles. Let's talk a little Celtics Heat.
Well, before we get there, I have a couple points I still want to bring up.
Cool.
Well, no, I've been really impressed with. Last series we had talked about what do the Lakers do? Do they go big? Do they go small? And the answer was to go small. And we say go small, but AD's 7 feet and he's playing center. That's not going small. That's a hybrid small, right?
Well, it's the type of thing where you like Anthony Davis is the type of player.
You don't have your center out there.
You can call it big or small, but it's like it's Anthony Davis.
Yeah.
You're not. That's what we were saying about the Rocket series. It's not that AD was smoking him because he's a big man. It's not because he's 7 feet tall. He's smoking him because he's Anthony freaking Davis.
Yeah. Nice save. We always talk about the fact that we want to not curse as much on these podcasts, and then we've really thrown that out the window today.
Yeah.
Dwight Howard, with all of his struggles staying out of foul trouble, because I think he's fouling out, averaging in 16 minutes, which is absurd.
You're only bringing Dwight Howard in for just pure energy. Like you're not asking him to play 20, 25 minutes of sound fundamental defense. You're asking him to rebound, put down some dunks. You're not asking Dwight Howard for a lot. If he fouls out, he fouls out.
He's played really well on Jokic. I think he just straight up matched up 4 times on him in a post up, and I think there were 2 turnovers. Jokic drew a foul on 1, and then there was a missed shot. Like Dwight Howard, for all his struggles, staying out of foul trouble, has played really well on Jokic, and it's been the length of him and JaVale McGee that have been disrupting it. Now, the numbers with JaVale
disrupting to a degree. I mean, it's not like Jokic isn't cooking the series.
Yeah, McGee to
talking about he literally scored the Nuggets' last 12 points, almost hit the goddamn game winner.
Also, Dwight Howard wasn't on the floor. He wasn't on the floor for those.
For obvious reasons. I know, but Dwight Howard wasn't on the floor in the fourth quarter.
I mean, the Lakers' best defensive lineup in this series, and you can't, again, small sample size, can't use it as a whole thing, but you can look at it and say what is working best. It's with Dwight Howard on the floor. It's been KCP,
think Frank Vogel
LeBron James.
Survive the night if he played Dwight Howard at the end of the fourth quarter. You don't think he would?
Well, he should. He should.
Lakers
That's their best defensive lineup. They have a 71 defensive rating with that lineup on the floor of KCP, LeBron, Danny Green, AD, and Dwight Howard.
I don't think you
got to play your best defensive lineup.
In crunch time, I don't think you can play AD and Dwight on the floor together. You got to have AD at the 5.
No, that's what's been working. There's a reason the Lakers didn't score for 2.5 minutes to end that fourth quarter. Their best lineup has been with Dwight Howard out there. I think Dwight Howard probably starts Game 3. That's been their best lineup. I just gave you the numbers. It's been.
But I feel like this is a prime example of where the numbers don't quite tell the whole story. Do you want Dwight Howard on the floor for extended periods of time?
Well, he can't stay on for extended period of time because he fouls out. I'd rather just have him out there and make his impact.
You just said you wanted to start him.
Right, but just because I start him doesn't mean I have to play him 30 minutes a night. I want Dwight Howard out there when the game is ending. The numbers back that up.
What is Dwight Howard doing for you offensively?
Well, he's been better offensively for them than JaVale McGee has, but the problem has been the defense on Nikola Jokic. You're not
playing Dwight Howard under 2 minutes in the fourth quarter.
You just talked about how Nikola Jokic scored the last 12 points of that game. All of them came with Dwight Howard on the pine, right? Why not keep him out there?
I have one scenario for you.
Okay.
Jamal Murray with the ball with Dwight Howard defending him.
Well, that's why they've been.
That's a bucket. That's a bucket every single time.
That's why they've been
hunt that mismatch and get the switch, and it's a bucket every single.
That's why they've been dropping a lot better. And there's a reason that Dwight Howard has played well when he's on there defensively, because the Lakers have done a good job of kind of sculpting their defense around the fact that, if you're Jamal Murray, you're going to drop Dwight Howard because you'd rather him take those pull-up threes and the pull-up mid-range that haven't been working that well for Jamal Murray. This series, they've been doing a good job of.
I think this is a prime example of it being an incredibly small sample size. I don't have the numbers in front of me. I'd be very. I feel like those numbers to me indicate that Dwight Howard's probably playing not against the Nuggets' best lineup. I don't think you can have Dwight Howard on the floor when the Nuggets have Jamal out there. You're telling me that every
Jamal
time
Murray sat 4 minutes. Jamal Murray sat 4 minutes in the second half.
How many minutes did Dwight Howard play? 12?
13? 13? Okay, but
I think that
means at some point they overlap.
Tiny sample size plus minus being a noisy stat. That's exactly why people say it's a noisy stat.
I don't know, dude. No, it's not. It's not plus minus. It's defensive rating. That's offensive rating. It's different. It's different.
You're telling me you want Dwight Howard on the floor in crunch time?
Absolutely. Absolutely,
I do. Bugging.
Absolutely, I do. I just told, like, there's a reason Jokic scored the last 12 points, and the Lakers didn't do anything on offense and couldn't get any stops on defense. Like,
but then if Dwight Howard's on the floor for the Lakers on offense, you're sagging right off him. He's a non-factor offensively.
But if
it makes it that much easier to defend LeBron and AD when you don't have to worry about Dwight.
If you're not scoring anything on offense, you might as well have him out there for defense too, right?
I think those numbers are really, really noisy.
All right. You're not a believer. Whatever.
No, I'm not a believer in Dwight Howard in 2020. You're right. You're absolutely right. I don't believe in Dwight Howard this year. He's good in limited minutes. He's not the player I want on the floor at the end of the fourth quarter in the goddamn conference finals.
I just told you why I want him out there. Celtics Heat, been a hell of a series. Gordon Hayward coming back, maybe statistically wasn't the big difference, but the thing that killed the Celtics in the second game, their third quarter collapse, was that 2-3 zone completely disrupting them. You put Jay Crowder and Jimmy Butler in the top two zones. Their length and their size have really been disrupting the Celtics. And
I think we're talking about this as if we don't know that the Heat are a phenomenal defensive team.
Yeah.
It's not like this is some like unknown.
They were ranked like 14th in team defense in the regular season. They played a lot better in the bubble. I think they were like
it's so strange, but like it's not that these regular season stats don't matter, but it's like it's a different season. Mm-hmm. It's literally almost like talking about last season's stats. Like there was a 3-month break between the regular season and the bubble.
Yeah. Statistically, I don't think the Heat have been as good as you think they have been, but in the playoffs, they have been really good.
That's what I'm talking about.
But including bubble too is what I'm saying. The two, like we talked about this before the series started. Kind of the zone, how much the Heat would run it, because they hadn't run it in the bubble yet. But they ran
because they ran it the most in the regular season, but that must have been deliberate by Spoelstra and the coaching staff. Like, hide it, let teams don't give them any like tape on the Heat's bubble, on the Heat's zone. So,
well, because they didn't have Iguodala for a lot of time in the regular season too, and players were in and out in the bubble to start the playoffs and stuff. It didn't have to go zone against the Pacers, like a putrid half-court offense, and then
can we also talk about the fact that the Heat-Pacers series went 7?
What?
Heat-Pacers.
The Heat swept them, bro. What are you talking about?
What am I talking about?
What are you talking about?
Oh, I'm thinking of the play-in game. Jesus Christ. What are
you talking about right now?
Wasn't it Heat-Pacers in the play-in game?
What are you talking
about? Played in the first round? What am I talking about?
Heat-Pacers? No. What are you talking about?
I don't know what I'm talking about, honestly.
Neither of them played a play-in game.
Didn't they have to play to split the 4-5? Is that what I'm thinking of?
They played what are you saying, in the regular season in the bubble?
Didn't they play one game at the end of the bubble? It wasn't like the play-in game, but didn't they have to figure out who the 4-5 was?
No.
All right, I'm smoking crack, I guess.
What is going on right now?
I don't know. You're the one who wanted Dwight Howard on the floor in crunch time in 2020.
Literally has been their best defensive lineup. But anyway, the Celtics did a lot better job in Game 3 than in Game 2 of handling the 2-3 zone, getting someone, that's how you beat the 2-3 zone, is get someone in the semicircle right at the top of the key, give yourself the outlets of where to go. And they did a better job of putting Gordon Hayward in that spot and putting Grant Williams in that spot to make those extra passes. So a lot of times they had Enes Kanter there, and he was like a deer in the headlights.
Well, yeah, you would. As much as I was skeptical about Gordon Hayward coming back and immediately making an impact, at the bare minimum, he's another guy who can, in a zone against the zone defense, can drive, score, and pass as well as anyone, as well as you need him to at the very least. I still am skeptical about the type of impact that Gordon Hayward's going to have long term, just because he's coming off hasn't played in literally months. Like, I'm not expecting him to come in and be like the Gordon Hayward we know and are familiar with, but he's a smart player, and at the very least, like we saw in Game 3. The Celtics have figured out at least one way to attack the zone. I fully expect Miami to kind of adjust and figure things out. But like the Pacers can literally run a lineup. The Pacers. What am I saying?
Are you okay?
I don't know like what switched in the last like 2 minutes. Well,
we're having a great show.
I know. I like something like the Celtics, the Boston Celtics, the team playing the Miami Heat in the Eastern Conference Finals here in the year 2014, can run Kemba, Tatum, Brown, Smart, and Hayward on the floor at the same time. Any of those guys can drive and kick, or just straight score the basket. Like, that's a really challenging lineup to defend in zone. This series is going 7. I don't know how it does it.
Yeah.
Both these teams, talent-wise, coaching-wise, system-wise, are just so evenly matched. I love it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, it's been a fantastic series so far. It's weird that we have this extra day off, right? We were both looking at this. Unless let's discuss. Because, and like, if anyone has heard,
though, like, neither one of us can figure this out.
But I'm saying, like, if anyone, like, in the comments right now, like, saw something that we didn't and would like to, like, illuminate this for us, like, I don't know if I'm missing something, but the Celtics and Heat played on Friday, I think.
Yes.
They played, and then they didn't play on Sunday.
It looks like the Lakers or the Celtics are getting an extra day off. The Celtics and the Heat.
Yeah, they're getting an extra day off. The Lakers have been playing, all 3 games, and I guess that the only thing I can think of why they're doing that is to even up. This actually makes sense if they're doing it. They want to even up the series and put them on the same kind of schedule, just so that a team in the finals, if they get more time off.
But the finals start
on a set date.
Exactly. The finals start on a set date.
Yeah.
And but if a team goes 7 games and one series goes 4, like, sucks to suck. You have to go 7 games.
No, like, I know. But what I'm saying is, because the Celtics were ahead of schedule, they were ahead on the schedule of the Western Conference Finals, because that one had started.
You say that
later.
As if the NBA didn't schedule these series.
No, I know, but again.
I don't mean like literally you. I mean, like, it's not like they like. It's not like the Lakers.
I think the NBA
missed the game.
The NBA had no problem starting the conference finals, not on the same day and just kind of catching up. But now they want to put it on the same trajectory, so that if a team makes it into the finals before the other one, it's because they won, because they won a series in less games, and not because, they were playing before.
It just doesn't it doesn't make
it still doesn't make any sense.
It does, like, you look at the calendar and you're like, why?
Yeah, it makes no sense.
Literally.
Mailbag time. Ding, ding, ding,
Mailbag.
ding, ding, ding. First one, we start off with WNBA. We got 2 games tonight at 7 p.m. The Suns and Aces. The Suns won the first game. They blew them out by like 20. And then Lynx and Storm. That's going on at 9. That game starts 2 hours later. I don't know what the schedule was originally, but the Storm had like multiple inconclusive COVID tests. And they still haven't announced anything.
The game's still on. Like, I would assume that they weren't positive tests, still playing the game.
And like their social media like teams like tweeted out like, it's game time. But it's like, we still haven't got any information.
I have nothing.
Weird. We just got no information. Second one in the mailbag, UFC Fight Night on Saturday is okay.
We'll talk a lot more about this on Thursday. We're definitely going to preview the Adesanya Costa fight. It's
gonna be
going to be fun.
It's gonna be a dog fight. But Covington LeBron beef. Fuck Kobe Covington.
It's just it's so dumb. Like, it literally, he's just looking. He's just attention grabbing. Like,
and like, look, this is the stupid thing about keep politics out of it, right? Because
no one was saying that last night.
Because I fucking hate Donald Trump. I have no problem admitting
Find the club, brother.
But if you're Kobe Covington and you support him, like, that was probably really sick that he got a call from
that was probably the highlight of this man's fucking life.
Yeah, that's really cool for him. I mean, I would have been like, cool, fuck you, and hung up.
Just from like the perspective of like, it's unfiltered Donald Trump. Like, we're so used to getting, like, the media Donald Trump. Like, literally, dude is probably sitting in the Oval Office like, oh, shit, this guy's got a MAGA hat on. Let me call him up because he won the fight. Like,
no, because they had met before. They had met
still,
before.
spur of the moment, was this a planned call?
No, but they had met at a rally before, and they had shook hands. And this wasn't the first time they've interacted before.
Not the first time they've interacted, because, like, obviously, like, he really, like, got the call, and it wasn't, you know, it was obviously not a. I think it was just, like, unfiltered Donald Trump. I think it was kind of interesting to just, like, hear him, like, talking. I assume mostly on a whim to make that call.
Yeah. I mean, it was.
I don't know for sure, but, like, it was interesting to just, like, hear that conversation.
Mm-hmm. It would have been cool, and except that Covington then asked Usman if he had ever gotten smoke signals from his, like, tribe, which is just like
Covington didn't
blatantly
get pounded in by Kamaru Usman,
blatantly racist, and, like, you know, Covington calling out LeBron for being, like, a spineless woke athlete. Like, fuck out of here, dude. Bro, like, you literally got your ass pounded by Usman. Tyron Woodley looked just so out of it. Like, it didn't look like he wants to fight anymore. That's the thing.
He's been around for a minute.
He's a good fighter. But, you know, like, Alistair Overeem's old, and he still comes out firing every time. He literally, like, the last couple fights, he just looked like he doesn't want to be there. He's got to, I don't know,
maybe this guy got the bag. I don't know.
Yeah. Why do the Jets suck?
Complete and utter lack of talent and poor coaching.
Lack of talent, poor coaching, and they just suck. I don't know what to tell you. Missing their best offensive threat, who's not even good.
Literally, like,
yeah.
Oh, I don't want to talk about the Jets.
Last couple ones, let's rip through it. Are the Raiders legit?
I don't know if I'd call them legit. I'd call them a quality NFL team. Good running attack. Josh Jacobs looks every bit like what people thought he was at the end of last season. Henry Ruggs looks like he belongs. Darren Waller is a top 2 five in the league. A top 2, top 3.
Yeah.
I mean, he literally was second in basically every stat for tight ends last year behind Travis Kelce.
Yeah. Well, Kittle's hurt now. You know, I'd probably still take Kittle, Kelce, and maybe Ertz over him.
No,
but
I go Waller over Ertz right now.
Easily, we can agree, easily a top 5 tight end. Easily.
A difference maker at the tight end.
Yeah. I'm not ready to call them legit yet. Just because, you know, like, they beat a bad Carolina team, and the only reason they beat them is because Matt Rule decided not to use Christian McCaffrey on a 4th and 1 conversion that they could have won. I'm not ready to call them legit yet, and they beat a banged up Saints team, which is still a good team.
But still,
it's not
that Sean McVay is going to be caught, like, unaware defensively at the very least. Sean Payton.
Wow, you are just on top of your stuff right now.
I am, man. It's because it's a Tuesday. I was so locked in for a Monday show, and then
blame it on me for being sick.
You weren't sick. You got hit by a bus. Look both ways, says me.
I don't know. Yeah, right. I literally never looked. I've never seen you look both ways when you cross the street. It's absurd.
Have I gotten hit yet?
You would always say that. It pisses me off so much. And it's so annoying because every time, you know, we have a few brews and walking, crossing the street, potentially, we are of age, been known to happen before.
Allegedly.
You just run across the street or just walk. And you're like, this is what we do. This is what we do in the city. You don't have to walk both ways. Like, bro, you still should look both ways. I haven't gotten hit yet. But it's like, that's a terrible way to live.
If the car sees you, they're not going to hit you.
You have clearly never been to Argentina before, because they will run right through you.
Correct. Are we in Argentina currently, though?
No, we are not. NFC West winners.
I mean, we both think it's the Seahawks. We both got Russ winning the MVP. Like,
that's looking really good right now, too. Shout out Josh Allen, too, who's been balling out. And shout out my boy Cam. Shout out my boy Cam. You also got to remember that Josh Allen has not beaten a good team yet this season.
No, but he also
beat the Bills and the Jets.
Good. Like,
I know.
About the Bills last year. Like, I got into this argument with Josh so many times. Friend of the pod, Josh Hayden. Mm-hmm. Were the Bills good last year? Not necessarily. Were they beating bad teams? Yes. And the Bills used to be one of those bad teams.
Yeah.
Like, the Bills are clearly at a point now where they are better than bad teams and better than average to sub-average teams. Like the Bills are very much trending in the right direction.
Yeah, and the Stephon Diggs signing the trade looks really good. He's been clicking automatically with Josh Allen, getting involved early and often.
Diggs is nice, man. He's legit.
Yeah. The next question I have on here just says Tannehill contract.
Question Nolan, man. I don't know. You put it in the mailbag. I can't edit the mailbag questions. I have to take them from our mailbag and put them right in the doc. Tannehill contract, question mark?
Fair enough. Next one, can the Giants salvage their season? I'll leave this one for you.
There's nothing to salvage.
Okay.
There's nothing.
That's it?
Oh, Elliot has clarified. Does the Tannehill contract look bad?
Oh. No, it doesn't. If anything, it looks good. I mean, he's played well.
I think if that's the quarterback that fits your system, you pay him kind of whatever you want. Yeah. Like, would I personally want to give Ryan Tannehill a huge contract? But like, if it's working, how can you argue with it?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Down the road, maybe it doesn't work so well. If Derrick Henry doesn't stick, because what if we've been saying Derrick Henry's underproducing? What if last season was like the peak for Derrick Henry? Who knows? Yeah. Right now, I have no issues with it.
I mean, I drafted him in our fantasy league. I really didn't want to, just because I'm always hesitant to draft someone who just has that crazy explosion in the playoffs. We've seen it so many times. Just
did lead the league in rushing last year.
Yeah, but it's also those last like 4 or 5 weeks, he was just absolutely bonkers. Yeah. But the offense worked really well with Tannehill last season, and I did not think they should have thrown the bag at him, but it's worked. So, and another one that Elliot had thrown into the mailbag was, will Patriots be a little closer than we expected? And yeah, I do think so.
I think it should be. Yeah. Oh, did I not put I must have missed that shit.
Patriots, are going to have their hands a little more full with the Raiders. I don't know what the line is right now, but the Raiders do have some weapons on offense. It's just which version of Derek Carr?
Who do you put Gilmore on? Ruggs?
What?
Who do you put Gilmore on?
Or on Waller? You put him on Waller.
I think Waller's too big for Gilmore.
Well, that's Waller's the problem. You don't have those.
Darren Waller's huge.
You don't have those. When you're missing so many big pieces.
And if you put Gilmore on Darren Waller, what are you doing with Henry Ruggs?
JC Jackson. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see how they line up.
I would be shocked to see Bill Belichick put Stephon Gilmore on a tight end, but
he's done it before. Take away the number one threat. I mean, that is the calling card of Bill Belichick. Literally make anyone else beat you.
I just think you need to put a bigger body on a 6'6" guy.
But that's who do you put on him? That's the problem. Is that they're thin at the linebacker core.
We'll find out.
It's gonna be interested. It's gonna be interesting to see what looks Belichick throws at Derek Carr, because Derek Carr in the first half looked bad. Like he had no pocket presence and missed a couple of surefire.
But in the second half, they were like, all right, let's force feed Darren Waller, and it worked.
And in the second half, it worked. So next question, Tyrod or Herbert? We kind of touched on this.
Justin Herbert.
Herbert.
There's nothing he did to like. You always talk about like you got to make the most of your opportunities in the NFL and in life too. But in the NFL, Justin Herbert got handed a starting spot very out of nowhere. Mm-hmm. And took the defending champs to overtime and played well. Didn't play poorly. If your rookie quarterback came in on short notice and played that well, play him. Come on. Why are you playing Tyrod Taylor?
I know.
What do you have to lose?
No, you don't. It's tough because, if you had kept Herbert on the bench for a couple more weeks, you're like, okay, he's got to get ready and all that. Even if Tyrod Taylor wasn't playing that well, this isn't a year that the Chargers are expecting to compete. But
exactly,
if Herbert had come in the second half and looked okay, I understand going back to Tyrod Taylor. But at this point, Herbert has shown that he's at least ready, and it's not like Tyrod Taylor's setting the world on fire and he's not going to offensively.
That's the thing. It's not like you're looking at like a good team that drafted. If you're, let's say, like take the Packers for instance. Let's say Rodgers had to miss a game and Jordan Love came in and played well. Mm-hmm. You're not giving the starting job to Jordan Love. Tyrod Taylor is not Aaron Rodgers. I don't know if you noticed that. If you look at the advanced stats, Tyrod Taylor is pretty much a league average quarterback.
Yeah,
you've got a rookie. Let him play. There's no better experience than playing.
My eyes keep darting. My cat just went into the cupboard where all our pots and pans are.
That should be fun.
Yeah, good time. I hope my mom isn't seeing this episode now because she doesn't like that. Last question: can you see the NBA keeping the play-in game? Absolutely. I think the bubble. I think the bubble has been a huge success, and I think it's going to go past like the playing game. I think it's going to go in like, do we put the playoffs or the championship in a neutral site? I don't think they do.
No.
I don't think they do that. But
Absolutely
there is something to be said about the level of play we're seeing in a neutral site. With
tell every NBA owner that they won't be getting revenue numbers from playoff
that's the
games.
problem. I think,
also,
but there's something to be said. Continue.
I was just gonna say, like, think about all like the really sick moments we've seen in the playoffs this year. Just imagine them with fans.
Yeah, right. Imagine that in Staples Center, a team that hasn't made the playoffs in like 8 years, and AD hits a game winner in the conference finals, right? OG
Anunoby silencing the Boston crowd in round 2, like that.
I think there are going to be some like you just want to say silence the Boston crowd. I think there are going to be a lot of things they take away from this season. And
can you imagine like the Jazz Nuggets game 7?
Yeah, that would have been sick.
Like, honestly, the unfortunate thing is I could totally see the bubble sticking around.
I don't know if the bubble sticks around, but like you got to look at the level of play and how much better it's been with no travel. But the play-in game,
well, yeah, let's actually answer the question we got.
Well, for the last couple of seasons, the NBA has been discussing like a play-in tournament or a mid-season tournament, kind of just spice things up because they don't want to take.
I don't know about a mid-season tournament, but like the play-in game.
I know, me neither. Yeah,
start the playoffs with the game 7. Look at what baseball did with the wild card game. Kick things off with the game 7. Like that's a sick way to start things.
I think for a while I was saying make the first round like best out of 5. I don't think shortening series is the answer. I think a play-in game is perfect, honestly, because it gives
the one thing
more
I do like about shortening the
opportunities.
first round is like of all the major sports, the first round of the NBA is like generally the chalkiest. Like the 1 seed is almost certainly going to sweep. Like shorten it to 5 games, and also that makes the odds better for the lower seeded teams, which is kind of exciting, especially in the first round. And 8 beating a 1 would be awesome.
I mean, imagine like the Magic beat the Bucks in game 1, and imagine
all of a sudden
you're like, oh shit, we're 2 losses away from like bowing out.
Exactly what I'm saying.
But play-in game,
keep the playing game.
Yeah, I think absolutely keep the playing game, and I wouldn't be surprised if we have some more changes from this season to next.
Yeah.
Got anything else, Ben?
No, that's all I got.
Cool. Yeah, I got nothing else. I'm going to go take my cat out of the cupboard now.
Have fun with that.
Second Floor Sports, Matias Weilmann, Ben Carlton. Recording this. 2:45 is when we're logging off on September 22nd. Follow us on Twitter at two Floor Sports, on Instagram, where you're watching us right now if you're watching us live, at Second Floor Sports, on YouTube at Second Floor Sports. Like, subscribe. Let us know in the comments what you think and what you want to see. Of course, we'll read it and we won't do anything about it. You can listen to our podcast on Anchor, on Spotify, now on Google Podcasts as well. We're still working
on Google Podcasts, man. That's huge for us. That's our market. I'm telling you. That's our market right there.
Still working on getting on Apple Podcast. Other than that, there's no other ways to watch or listen to our podcast. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. We'll be back on Thursday, time to be announced, talking everything on a really exciting card coming up for the UFC and what we should be expecting for week 3 of the NFL.
I'm not saying a word about Thursday Night Football. I refuse.
I'll talk the whole thing about it. Even though I don't think I'll talk too much about it. From Ben Carlton and Matias Weilmann, so long. Enjoy the rest of your Tuesday, and should be a good NBA game tonight.